بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حياكم الله في الجمعية الاقتصادية. هذه أول ندوة لنا بعد الانتخابات، أو خلينا نقول هذه أول ندوة لنا بعد الدورة الجديدة نبتدي فيها من اللجنة الثقافية. Thank you for coming and taking this moment to thank you for coming over and sharing your report with KPMG. This is our first, let's say, seminar after the first round of the change of the board. We are very happy to have you here. Okay, so I'm going to start a little bit about their CVs. I know it's mashallah, they don't need an introduction, but a little bit of talking about them. Mr. Umran Sheikh, he's the director at KPMG, head of government and infrastructure services. So Mr. Umran, it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions on that. Been in around 25 years experience in infrastructure, strategy development and business planning and feasibility studies. And have been appointed project that includes Al-Hayman, Chabd, the schools for PPP, Kuwait fixed broadband, and many others, such as also South Sabah Al Ahmed City and New Entertainment City as well. So maybe we're going to have more deep questions. Moving to Mr. Ibrahim Sattout. Sayyid Ibrahim have more than 30 years of experience in the field and 25 years dedicated in Kuwait. Been partner with Asrar since 2005. Experience in very complex and landmark transactions across Kuwait. Many infrastructure projects, starting particularly in the business industry, such as banking, finance, capital market, and specializing maybe lately so much into the PPP project. Have been worked closely with the Kuwaiti government as well as local investors and international investors. Then many of them of the project like Zor, Al-Hayman as well, Jahra, City Al Ahmed, Solibia waste water project, and Chabd as well. So both of them can give us a better insight, and Al-Abdali as well. There are many others. Mashallah, he has a background in law, French law, been in Paris University as well as St. Joseph University, laws in mashallah, Lebanese laws, international trade law, as well as Paris 2 University, mashallah, you're so much into technical laws. In Kuwait, worked so much with the privatization law and BOT laws as well. So you can take us through the journey of laws, starting from 2008 of the BOT, the inception of the law, and going all through all the changes as well. We're going to talk about the challenges that we're going to face. So this is the introduction. Now moving on to that project introduction, topic that we're going to speak about. As we read the report that have been published with KPMG, mashallah, last year there are 4 main projects in Kuwait that are driving the market. Market is anticipating on them, looking forward for those 4 projects, such as the number 1 Mubarak Port, which is everybody's interest so far, and then we have the medical city. We have as well the railroads. Everybody's talking about it. Saudi already have started it, and South Jahra Labour City. That was last year, in last year's budget. This year, they have amended like 1.5 billion of project, 36 projects that we're going to see how are they and where are they, and we can start now. Okay.
Thank you, Manish.
We'll start with you, Imran. First of all, if you could give us your view on the infrastructure, what are those projects? What are your analysis or your conclusions, and the main points that you mentioned in the report?
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting us, and it's always a pleasure to be with the Kuwait Economic Society, and our collaboration grows over time, and we are very happy for that. Thanks everybody for coming and gracing this event, and it's a pleasure, real pleasure to see friends again. We are very proud to release the Kuwait edition of the Emerging Trends in Infrastructure. This report sets out the key trends that we have observed as part of the analysis that we have done, interviews that we have done with key leaders globally, as well as bringing in the Kuwait perspective. Before I get to your question, I will just take a few minutes to walk you through some of the key, or the 8 emerging trends that we believe would be of relevance.
Yeah.
And I will cheat, I will look at my notes because my memory is not that strong.
It's okay.
Right. So, and before I do actually proceed to that, I would request you to please join me in thanking the key contributors to this report from Kuwait. First and foremost, Engineer Naif Al-Haddad, who has the knowledge of ins and outs of the PPP and infrastructure sector in Kuwait. He's the Manager of Research and Strategic Planning. Of course, he doesn't require any introduction. He's with the Kuwait Authority for Partnership Projects. My colleague, Ibrahim Satoud, again, his knowledge of infrastructure laws is unparalleled. He's a partner with Asar. Ms. Yasmin Al-Kandari, who's a co-founder and CEO of Seeds company. And Mr. Jasim Al-Awadi, founder and initiative director of Kuwait Commute. So my thanks to them. Getting to the key trends, the trend number 1 is a broader focus on just transition. What does that mean? Just transition means that, yes, everybody around the world says that, yes, we should move towards clean energy, climate change, and all of that. But we need to be aware that there is a disparity between the developed world and the developing nations. They all are not equally equipped, whether by way of funding or by way of talent. So, in order for us to have a sustainable development, then it actually means that we need to have strategies that are encompassing the development of the lesser privileged countries as well. So that's the first trend. And we see that this is happening. Second is a turn in geopolitics. Of course, this needs no introduction again, because we see what's happening around the world, changes in government, which is upsetting the thread of development that we had seen towards climate change, clean energy, and many other such initiatives. These are being reversed, but at the same time, this change of leadership actually can also lead to people coming together to strategize and come up with new ways that they can address the challenges. Next is the rise of philanthropic capital. Now, this is a new area. And how does this come about? Very simply because governments, while they are committed to meet their infrastructure goals, they simply do not have enough budgets. And there is a gap. And that gap is being met by philanthropic organizations, family businesses, and ultra-high net worth individuals who are contributing specifically for the cause of social infrastructure to help them through their funding as a means to accomplish the change they want to see in society. Next is a change towards the infrastructure mesh. Again, now what does this mean? All through we have been looking at mega developments, mega cities, and large scale developments. But now there is a movement towards decentralization. So people do not want to live in cities which are where they have to have long commutes. Not more than 15 minutes is what's the expectation now. So that also is translating to the way that infrastructure is built. So instead of having large utility companies, then there will be smaller power plants, and last mile commute is being taken by private sector, who are actually competing also with the public sector. And similarly, now the role of the government changes in this context, because till now the government has been the provider of the infrastructure. Now it needs to be a facilitator to accommodate these private sector players. Then the next key trend is towards technology. We have been speaking about technology for a long time, and technological changes have been actually moving much, much faster in the recent years compared to the previous years. But infrastructure, unfortunately, has not adopted technology at the pace that you would have expected. It is changing though, again, driven by economic requirements. the investors, the users are asking, I want better returns on my investment, I want better usage of the infrastructure you're giving me. So this is leading to investment in technology, planning for technology right at the inception stage. So this is something that we see is going to actually drive, and as we see new technologies coming in, we will see that the usage will actually increase even more. So some examples are digital twins. This is already in place right now, whether it is for cities level, transport level, or power. Then IoT, which is used very, very extensively in the transport sector. And now with the way that we have seen how AI has been evolving and how people will be employing AI to greater use is something that we are very keen to see. Sixth trend is the energy transition. So everybody wants to move to clean energy, but the harsh reality is that, and everybody is actually accepting the fact that this is going to be a longer term transition than something that we can see immediately. The targets are still there. They will shift a bit more longer. And the reasons for this are that from a purely governmental point of view, what the government as the primary investor in infrastructure for energy, they want security. They want to have access to energy, and then they want affordable energy. So the cost curve for conventional energy is still much lower compared to alternative sources of energy. Till the time that this converges, we will just see that conventional energy will remain in demand. So the ask now is basically that there needs to be a more nuanced approach to say that yes, while we go and develop clean energy, we need to also ensure that we do not let go of the conventional energy sources. Next is reforming the regulatory remit. What we mean by that is essentially now business models and technology is moving much faster than regulations are moving. And frequently regulators find themselves wrong-footed. And this requires actually upskilling and bringing in a newer generation of regulators who are able to understand what the changes are happening around them, as well as a new way of regulating the industries around. Because it cannot be based on control, it has to be in a way that facilitates this growth. Lastly is our take on the new frontier. So frontier, what we mean by this is that we need to look at anticipating potential technological disruption for the future. Infrastructure assets by definition are long-lived, but if they become obsolete in between because of a change in technology, so what do we need to do? So the planners at the outset have to see that is there an alternative use that we can envision for these assets, such that and if the asset has to be repurposed before the expiry of its useful life, then you can actually make use of it and not let that investment go to waste, because these are massive investments. So these are the top 8 trends that we would like to bring to your attention. Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to move now to Mr. Sayyid Ibrahim Sattout. We're going to speak about the laws, but we're going to come back to you about Kuwaiti market in specific. أهلا سيد إبراهيم. We're going to speak in English. We want you to take us through the journey of the let's say the birth of the laws, starting with the law of 2008 of the BOT, and then moving on to the one have changed the law of 2010, and then law 8 and law 7, and then how those laws are affecting those projects, and then we can take them to the PPP projects.
Sure. Thank you.
No
First, also I would like to thank you for inviting me to speak and to share my experience in PPP projects. And also I would like to thank Amran and KPMG for giving us the chance, me and Assar, my firm, to be part of the report, which I read today with big interest. So thanks, Amran, again. If I can go through the laws in Kuwait. Kuwait started embraced the PPP, the partnership, private-public partnership idea or concept starting from 2007 in terms of legal laws and regulations. But before that, most of the infrastructures projects were procured through the tender law or through specific resolutions by the Council of Ministers. I can give an example which was implemented before the law 2007 is the Sulaybiyah wastewater project. And it was based on a Council of Ministers resolution at the time in 2002. And this project was expanded again in 2010 based on the same Council of Ministers resolution issued in early 2000. So it was not regulated by the PPP law itself. But starting from 2007 and 2008, the government started promulgating a set of legislation to regulate the PPP and public-private partnership projects in Kuwait. Starting with the law number 7 of 2008, which at the time established the Partnership Technical Bureau, PTB, at the time, set out the procurement process and also provided for the establishment of a special purpose company, the project company, to implement the project. As a result of the promulgation of this law, the government started launching and procuring PTB, started launching the PPP projects, and in different sectors, starting from the energy sector, the metro, at the time, Failaka Island, the rehabilitation hospital, and of course the wastewater. When the government started the implementation of the law, one of the main projects that was launched at the time was Azurnos 1, Azurnos 2, and Al Hayman. But the government realized that the law as it was in 2008 was not really up to the standard or did not regulate very well the power and electricity and water desalination. That's why the government or the parliament promulgated law number 39 of 2010, which is specific for the electricity and desalination of water projects in Kuwait. And it is still in effect until today, and it regulates specifically these type of projects. At the same time, also based on the experience, also the government realized that the law number 8 of 2007 of 2008 also needed some amendment and redrafting. So that's why they issued law number 116 of 2014, which repealed the BOT law, the old BOT law, and is the main law now which regulates all PPP projects in Kuwait. So when we see the Al Hayman project, the Kabad project, the previous one, Failaka, they were all procured under the PPP law. In parallel, the government also issued the privatization law, 37 of 2010. But so far, it was not really implemented. There is one, I think, project which was procured as the feasibility study at the time under this law, which was the North Shuaiba power plant. But as of today, really, there is no precedent, no implementation.
But so why is that? No implementation? Is it lack of managerial issue, or there is no?
Maybe there is lack of projects, and I think my friend Naif can help or give maybe some background why the privatization. But maybe because there are no big projects or no projects which could be procured under this law. Actually, this law can be used for privatization of different governmental, entities or services. Even K companies can be privatized, or some of their businesses can be privatized under this law. So, as I said, so far it was not implemented. There is also the general law, the tender law, which is still also applicable, but which regulates projects which are not qualify under the IWPP, which is the electricity and water, or the PPP law itself. Also, it's worth noting that there is the Public Authority for Housing Welfare, which has its own regulations. which issue or procure projects under the PPP law, but according to its own regulations. But it has been active and on the procurement of several projects.
Yeah, I have a comment is that, but correct me if I'm wrong, this brings in confusion to the, let's say, international investor.
Yeah.
Like all of them are implementing their project on almost similar law. However, there are still varies from an entity to an entity, and all of them comes under one umbrella, which is the government entity.
No, confusion. I mean, the still CAP.
Yeah.
Still the main regulator of PPP projects.
Yes.
Whether under the IWPP or the PPP law.
Okay.
So all projects should be procured by CAP. The Public Authority for Housing Welfare has a different treatment because it is the project that it procures are a smaller scale. Yeah. And they are really limited in development of cities, etc., which is a bit different from the PPP, which mostly they concern a public service most of the time, like electricity, water, infrastructure, etc. So it's a bit different. But I mean, it may be a good idea, and Naif also, my friend, can discuss this. We're not throwing. I mean, we're not pushing Naif everything on Naif.
We want the input of Mr. Naif on international investors. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So, but it may be sometimes good to have different entities, maybe handling, different type of PPP project on different scales, because it may accelerate, it may push. The projects to completion. So this may be a good idea. Just to say a final, description of what's happening, maybe a little bit now on the grounds in Kuwait. We have seen a different type of contracting concerning infrastructure, which is, if I can say, a government-to-government projects, especially involving China. And we have two examples. We have Mubarak al-Kabir port, which will be procured in principle outside the PPP project. It's government to government. I'm not sure it will even go through the public tender law, because I mean, government dealing together is supranational. It's higher in hierarchy than the other laws and regulations. This may accelerate the implementation of project. Another example involving the Chinese is the energy, the solar energy. Also, the government signed another MOU specific for these type of projects, and it seems that this will help or assist in accelerating the implementation of some renewable energy project through Chinese companies, because here the government will sign with the Chinese government. They will select one entity, a corporate entity, a government entity in Kuwait to be part of the project, and the Chinese will also select a Chinese company specialized in the power energy projects, and they will form together a local company to implement the project and operate it for a certain period of time. So this is a new, trend that we are seeing, and I think it sends a positive, to the market.
To the market.
Yes.
Yes. I agree with you that it is sending more serious, let's say, and taking into action project and into seriousness in implementing a project. As you can see now, the trend is they're not accepting any delays, and if any delays happen, people get questions, which is things shows that things are going into the right direction. Alhamdulillah. We'll go back to you. So we need you to more take us into, we talked about the trends, now we need your input on the infrastructure projects in Kuwait.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we have been speaking for some time about delays in projects, cancellations of projects, and all that paints a very grim picture of how infrastructure is performing in Kuwait. But however, at KPMG, we actually take a very different view of that. What we see is that there is this pent-up demand. The lack of investment over the last decade or more, all of this actually is translating to shortages in the infrastructure requirements. If I speak of power, you would have noted that Kuwait for the last few years has been experiencing blackouts in summer for a country which is actually energy rich. It's not an acceptable situation. Similarly, we have the situation with our road infrastructure. It was also not addressed properly for a lot of time, and we have all been suffering on account of that. But what I'm leading to is that as a society, we cannot live without this infrastructure. It has to happen. And we are seeing that this pipeline is coming into motion now. So if we speak of the major projects, the largest projects that are in the market right now, these relate to power. There are 2 projects through conventional fuel that are being developed, as well as the solar power projects, and you have another power project being procured by the Ministry of Electricity, Water and Energy through direct procurement. So there is heavy emphasis on getting all of this done very, very quickly. There were some other projects that were lagging, which was, if you speak of the rail project in Kuwait, this from 2010, the initial studies have happened, but for whatever reason, this did not progress. Now, because Kuwait is a signatory to the GCC network, so the first phase of the Kuwait National Rail Project, 111-kilometer line, which will be connecting Saudi to Kuwait. So that is underway. The award for the study and design for that has already been given to a Turkish company. So we see this as
the phases, the momentum is moving and actual execution is there.
Correct. And the same way, there are some projects that you mentioned earlier. So these are more indicative of how fast some of the other government entities are moving. And infrastructure need not always be PPP. So we have other governmental, quasi-governmental entities also who are taking a role in this. My friend Ibrahim mentioned the PHW. PHW has actually been one of the more successful procurers of PPP in Kuwait. And it's by virtue of both the fact that their projects are smaller and that not very complex, so they have a larger market of investors who are willing to take that up. So that is also a learning for the other entities to see how this can be applied. Yes. Yeah. So we also have other quasi-government entities such as the Touristic Enterprises Company, who has in a very, very sweeping manner actually been issuing many of their projects to the private sector, participating with them. And we are quite hopeful that these all will be quite successful as well. So, and we have another government entity in the form of Wafra Real Estate, who has taken up the development of the Kuwait Medical City. So in addition to all the projects that were developed by the Ministry of Health, So this is adding more capacity to the market, which is very, very sorely needed. So overall, we would say that for Kuwait, for infrastructure sector, the future is bright. So we can't go down any further.
No doubt in execution.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. I want to ask for more questions, but I want to leave the floor for questions on the floor. Maybe we have a few questions. Please. Yeah, sure.
What is the status of BOT right now? And does that status of BOT is, how is it interacting with the private-public partnerships?
I mean, worldwide, I think the BOT is part of the PPP. I mean, PPP covers the BOT generally. And BOT, you have different type of BOTs. You have build, operate, transfer. You have build and without, or operate and transfer. So you have different concepts. So, but it is active. In the region, it is active. In Europe, it is active. In England, they have a specific regime. In France, it is part of the administrative procurement and administrative law. So really, in different countries, it has different approaches. In Kuwait, it has been active. When the law was issued in 2008, we have seen a number like 5 or 6 projects launched in the same time. So the government was very active, but for different reasons. Some of them were cancelled for really whatever reason. Some of them were put on hold. We ended up with only 2 projects which have been implemented. This gave a negative message to the investors that there are no projects in Kuwait, so how much should we be like interested or keen to participate in Kuwait? So we sent a negative message to the investors. But recently, and as Amran mentioned, we have seen suddenly really a large number of projects, whether under the PPP or the government procuring itself in the energy sector or in other sectors. So there is more, this sends a very positive message to the market that we are back and we are the government as government, and they have the intention to procure more projects in Kuwait under the PPP or under different concepts, but covering the infrastructure generally.
Can I add one question also? There are several BOT projects that it's very difficult for the operator or the person who's going to bid for it to make a profit out of it.
To make
a profit out of it.
Okay.
For example, the metro project in terms of operation, you will never be able to charge market prices for people who use the metro. So is there a mechanism in PPP to help make it more attractive for the private sector to participate in these projects?
I mean, it depends on how the project is structured. As an office, we were involved in the metro project initially, and there were different approaches and different ideas on how to do it. Ultimately, also, it's not only, we should not look at the investor wish to make profits. Also, it's the government, whether it's costly to the government, or whether it's cost effective or not. So even under the metro, I remember, there were ideas not to procure it under the PPP law, to procure it as a EPC, and the government to run it. So back to your question, whether it is possible to make it, profitable to Kuwait, to investors. I can give an example, and I think we can build on it, and Naif maybe can also agree with me. Azurnos 1, the rates and the tariff at Azurnos 1 is the lowest in the region, I think. So in Kuwait, and investors in the region were really wondering how we ended up having the lowest tariff in Kuwait, which is attractive for the investors. And Azurnos 1 is operating, is a success story. They completed on time, they are making profits, and Kuwaitis subscribe to the shares. So we can build on this precedent to use it for the metro and other projects. It's not only the metro. All the projects can be profitable, and there is a risk that you may not make profit. But it depends on how it's structured, and since we have examples, it can work. I mean, we have Dubai, that they have the metro. Saudi, they built a metro. So why not in Kuwait? Investors can make profits. I mean, I'm not sure this should be the main question, in my mind.
Yes,
Like
please.
when you mentioned the metro, see, when you mentioned the metro, public transportation has no real, I would say, return for the investment, actually, for like the investor side.
In our region, maybe.
Even in the UK, the operation cost is very high, you know. But see, it's heavily subsidized by the state,
Yes.
heavily supported by the state. You agree with this,
Yes,
huh?
fully agree.
So the thing about it is how the private sector is going to gain the profit is from the state side. And you have to look at it this way. If you want to have, like, for example, a metro, what you need to look about, like, the other benefits. We talk about, like, you know, the cost of time of having traffic jam for, like, 3 to 4 hours. That is also accumulated in money, you know, and for cost of, like, you know, wasted time in, like, you know, running business or errands whatsoever. The public sector, the private sector will be gaining from. It will be heavily subsidized. The state didn't want to go into this venture because it didn't want to give so much of subsidy, as well as building the major infrastructure, which is, we talk about like the rails itself, not even the, you know, the train carts. We talk about like the rails itself is a very heavy, I would say, infrastructure investment that will be burdened by the state. It will take them more than 17 years actually to regain, like, you know, the return on it. So this is something that is still in pondering, but the state has to decide. But like, for example, if you want to take a metro, do like what Dubai did. They take I would say, a very straight line, just like, for example, Sheikh Zayed Road, all the way straight forward. And they had like all the hubs to it. See, the thing about it has to be elevated. In the Kuwait, it has to be elevated. It cannot be underground. Underground will be a lot, you know, I mean, like if you look in Egypt and other countries, underground is very efficient. In Kuwait, you cannot have, because you're building it, you know, while like everything is on the ground actually. So it will be a lot of challenges, especially even like in acquisition of the land itself to get the routes. So that was like one of the challenges. But I have a question right now, actually.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when you guys talk about like right now, you talk about like projects being in the middle, and there is always the gap for finance. You know what we don't have in Kuwait right now to solve a lot of problems? We need a concession law. Something which is right now, even like with the problem, I know, right now in the dealings for the G2G between China whatsoever, there is no concession law. If they had the concession law, it would solve a lot of problems. Aside from any PPP or privatization, concession law would help a lot. But the problem that we have this kind of lack, and we need this kind of, I would say, aggregate, I would say, approach towards the legal modifications to accommodate the state needs, state economic needs. That's my take on this.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes the projects move faster than regulations. So yes.
Yes.
That's true.
We fall behind. Sure.
Hello. Recently, we published a paper as an economist with a colleague of mine regarding FDD, which is foreign direct divestments, rather than the FDI, you know, foreign direct investments. And we approached the emerging trends, infrastructure and whatnot, and we noticed also something recent, you know, 0.6% decline in the construction aspect of Kuwait in 2024. However, it's going to go up very soon. We heard about the Qatar Energy and KPC agreement for 15 years regarding LNG. The question is, I would like to hear from your side regarding the foreign direct divestments, if that's an opportunity that Kuwait could actually open doors for. And that's my question.
Yes. If I may? Yeah, thank you. So, this is a very good interplay between infrastructure and FDI. The reason is that when you do large infrastructure projects, you require not just money, you require technology. And many a times, the technology may not be present or available in the country, and you would have international players coming in. And when they come in, they are actually contributing to the foreign direct investment in the country. So by nature, then you can say that FDI is a integral part of any infrastructure project that you do. So when we see these infrastructure project pipeline coming into play, you can definitely be assured that you will see FDI follow. I hope that answers. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Actually, we made it on time exactly, so it's 7:50. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for interrupting, and we hope it was an interesting session. It was very informative. This is the first time we have something about infrastructure since the last 2 years. We look forward for other discussions. سيد إبراهيم نفس الشيء، نتمنى أن يكون عندنا بعد توانات أخرى من الناحية القانونية إن شاء الله يا رب. And KPMG, we're looking for your other reports, and we look further for their discussions.
We will keep you busy, inshallah.
Yeah, you will. But then we need more details and more opinion on that, inshallah.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming over.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.